welcome Guy Kawasaki, tech influencer and Mercedes-Benz brand ambassador.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in the Mercedes-Benz CES booth. It's a real pleasure to entertain you all, and perhaps we'll even inform you today. So my name is Guy Kawasaki. I'll tell you a little bit about who I am. I worked at Apple as Apple's second software evangelist. I also was at one point Apple's chief evangelist. The word evangelism comes from Greek roots, meaning bringing the good news. So my job when I was at Apple was to bring the good news of Macintosh, how it would democratize computing. Currently, I am the chief evangelist of a company called Canva out of Sydney, Australia. We're in the business of democratizing design. I'm also an executive fellow at the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley. And last but not least, I am a Mercedes-Benz brand ambassador. The brand ambassador program at Mercedes involves world-class athletes and entertainers who foster the Mercedes brand. If you're into athletics, Roger Federer, for example, is a Mercedes-Benz brand ambassador, as is Garrett McNamara. If you're into big wave surfing, Mavericks, he holds the record for surfing the largest wave, something like 78 feet. I am neither a surfer nor a tennis player of that caliber. I think the largest wave I've ever surfed is 2 feet, so we're about 76 feet difference between me and Garrett. My expertise is marketing and evangelism. Today I'm going to be the host of this presentation. This is called an inspiration talk. We've had 7 of them. This is the last one, the 8th one. And our goal for these talks is to give you some insight into the direction of Mercedes going into the future. The acronym that wraps the framework around is CASE, C-A-S-E. And CASE, as you can see from this, stands for connected and autonomous and shared and electric. That is the future of Mercedes-Benz. You see some examples of an electric smart car, a futuristic van here with some drones on the top. That's kind of an insight into the future of us. So if you're tweeting about anything that's happening here, our hashtag is MBCES, Mercedes-Benz CES. We'd appreciate you doing that. We have some questions in advance from social media. We will also be happy to take questions from the audience. So this is going to go about 20 minutes, and at the 15-minute mark, we're going to open up for Q&A from the audience, so get your questions ready. Today, specifically in CASE, C-A-S-E, this session is about autonomous driving. And so we have a Mercedes-Benz expert in autonomous driving, and we have an outside expert in technology. So we have 2 people, and I'd like to invite out Michael Hafner and Robert Scoble right now to join me out here.
Good to see you guys.
Hi there. What's going on?
Good. Now, in case you're having any trouble figuring out which one is the Mercedes-Benz employee and which one is Robert Scoble, this is Robert Scoble. Silicon Valley, what are you?
An evangelist like you, a journalist, a futurist. Siri was launched in my son's bedroom. I've launched many.
Was launched in
True story. I have the founder of Siri saying that.
Yeah.
And I had the first video of a self-driving car in Silicon Valley up on YouTube. And I've covered self-driving cars since 2007 when I interviewed the Stanford team. So I've been following this whole movement for a while.
Can you take those ridiculous glasses off?
No. Because I have more ridiculous glasses down here if you want.
That's okay.
I have a HoloLens in my pocket if you want to go at it, Guy.
You are the TSA's worst nightmare. Right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, all right. Michael from Mercedes, tell us what you do at Mercedes.
Oh, I'm responsible for developing of the driver assistance systems, automated driving, active safety, all that fancy stuff and the modern and nice stuff that we're doing.
And are you based in California or are you based in Stuttgart?
Unfortunately not.
Yeah?
But I'm here regularly. Now I'm based in Stuttgart.
Okay. So you know I have an E-Class, right?
Sure.
I have an E-Class. I have a 2016 E-Class. And it's It's really a wonderful car. Particularly, I love the Distronic feature. This Distronic, if you're not familiar with Mercedes lingo, is you turn this thing on, and then you are at a distance from a car. You can set a preference for how close or far you can get to the next car, and then it maintains that distance. You set the top speed, because if there's no cars in front of you, you don't want to go 175 kilometers. So typically, I'm on a Silicon Valley freeway. I turn on Distronic. I'm 2 or 3 car lengths behind a car. I set it for 65. And life is good. When they slow down, I slow down. When they come to a stop, I come to a stop. Brake lights are on. I do nothing. It's really a great thing. More about this car that I really love, you can just sort of drive along, and you press a button, and you turn on the turn signal, and it pulls out and changes lane for you. And the last thing, which impressed my daughter, I can't tell you how much it impressed my daughter, is that it can autonomously park. And so she just loves that feature. So it's not supposed to be a Mercedes brand ad, but I'm just telling you, I love all this. And we're only like the second stage. I mean, we got a lot more to go, a lot more to come, right?
Yeah.
So first question for you is, can you just give us the big picture of autonomous driving in Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah, you mean we have a long history in getting there step by step, and you both had the opportunity to enjoy our ride last year, the E-Class, that I'm happy that you like so much, where we showed where the road goes ahead with our driver assistance system with the Nevada license. So we are approaching autonomous driving very consequently, step by step, and the CES is always a super opportunity to show what is next. Probably you will tell about your ride yesterday.
Yeah, I had a ride in the S-Class technology that's coming out this summer.
Yep.
And it did several things better than the 400 wagon, the E-Class 400 wagon that I drove here, which I also agree is really cool to be able to drive down Highway 5 for hours and just let the car drive. And you're far more relaxed about driving if you use these technologies. The new S-Class was smoother. It drove around tighter radius turns than the older technology. And it can do things like if you signal going into a turn, it'll slow down and prepare for the turn. It hasn't yet gotten to the place where it can actually do the turn. You have to do that yourself. But it's coming along, and it's showing that every year we're going to get these technologies are going to get better, smoother, make fewer mistakes, and really improve our lives.
Do you think it's going to take a lot of adjustment for people to sort of give off control?
It takes some adjustment. I don't know about a lot. When I let my friends drive a car with Drive Pilot or Distronic, they're pretty blown away. But it does take them an hour to get to where they trust the car or don't trust the car, right? Because, like you said, sometimes it takes you off on an off ramp or does something, and you have to be able to take to the control today. We are not in the place where you can just let the car drive for 10 hours and not touch the steering wheel, right?
So when are we going to have that day? Maybe not 10 hours, but when can I say I want to go to Half Moon Bay, Robert Scoble's house, and...
Well, what we just demonstrated and are talking about is still level 2 systems, right? Systems that support the driver and that help the driver, level 2.
Okay.
They are pretty good, but they do not cover 100% of situations that you might encounter on your driving. So it will take to level 3 and level 4, 5 that you really can step back and let the car do all the job by itself. We are working on that, and we are approaching that. We have showed.
What are the biggest challenges? Is it computing power? Is it the quality of the maps? What's the limiting factor right now?
As always, it's a little of everything. It's the sensors. They need to see well enough. It is, of course, calculation power. It's the new artificial intelligence and deep learning things that help accelerate development on those systems dramatically. So if you bring that all together, and then your correlations are ready too, then we are ready to go.
Yeah. It's my belief that we're going to need the car companies to build a new kind of 3D map, which will make it possible for cars to really navigate through the world. And I know your CEO is really passionate about maps. You don't have an announcement yet to make, but do you agree with me that we are going to need a new kind of map for making the car to the next level?
Totally agree. I mean, we have integrated the map now dramatically, but still maps are very accurate, but again, also not 100%.
Yeah.
For full autonomous driving, we need very, very precise maps, and we need to keep them learning new situations. I mean, if there is a construction zone, the car better should know that something has changed on the route.
How much data is it going to take to map the entire world this way? It's many exabytes, isn't it?
Everybody knows about gigabytes and terabytes, right? That's not the right magnitude. We are talking about petabytes of data that are currently for current maps, right? Like your company has about that size of map data worldwide. And this will even grow by magnitudes if you're talking about HD maps, high definition, high quality maps. It's even going to be much more than that.
And when we talk about maps, we're not talking about the Google map on our app anymore, where it's a line that takes us down. We're talking about a full 3D map of the world where it sees every tree, every pothole, every paint on the road, every sign, every bridge is in this map. And as the car goes down the street, it's going to be comparing that map to what it's actually seeing in the street, right?
And the reason for that, it's right, and the reason for that is that we need to localize our vehicle within the street, within the lane even, because we better know if the lane ends in a couple of yards, or whether there is an exit or something. So we need to know on which lane the vehicle is, and HD maps and localization based on those landmarks in the map are very crucial for fully autonomous driving.
So if you're wondering about how Robert Scoble and some people get to experience semi-autonomous and autonomous driving, this is a picture. So you have this special path that we took from the racetrack, and there's a car behind to protect just in case. And can you describe this experience? Like, how did this work?
They took us out to the middle of the desert and had an engineer drive it. I think you were driving for a while, and we did an interview, and then you let me drive back, or let the car drive back. And we were driving for what, a half an hour this week and an hour last year to get a really good baseline of what a car might do with these technologies, and it's a lot of fun. It's really weird when the car is turning around turns, right? And you have to trust the car does what it's doing, right?
But you get used to it, and once you have it and you know it, you never want to get rid of it again.
No kidding. No kidding.
And this is actually a picture of this year's drive, and the difference between last year and this year, what we did last year was the E-Class with the series system and series hardware, but with a prototype version of autonomous vehicle software. Now, this year, it was no longer prototype. This year, it's the very version that it's going to be launched in the new S-Class this year. And you were happy enough to enjoy it, right?
Yeah, it's much better than the existing system, so congratulations on that.
Do you think that we're going to get to a stage where, well, so when I was in high school, I took chemistry, right? And in the chemistry class, we used asbestos gloves and asbestos pads to do, Bunsen burner stuff.
My dad had asbestos in his garage. Right. He was an engineer.
So, like, now we look back and say, what the hell were we thinking? We were like, asbestos gloves, asbestos pads, and, then we find out it causes cancer. So you're wondering, what the hell does this story have to do with anything? So I'll explain. So do you think someday we're going to look back and say, what were we thinking? Why did we ever let humans drive cars? They're incapable of processing all that data. And the only way to go is autonomous driving.
Humans are actually pretty good computers. I mean, we go a million miles without having a death, right? That's pretty good. But these systems are going to be exponential learners. They're going to get better and better and better over time, because of how artificial intelligence works, how you train it and how it learns from mistakes that it's made in the past, and it gets retrained, right?
Right, and also, of course, the bandwidth that we have with communication systems that are able to transmit huge amount of data out of the vehicle to our back-end server where we can digest the data, where we can optimize the algorithms. It's not only learning and happening in the vehicle, it's also happening offline with the data. And that helps us to optimize the algorithms over and over again, not only before the launch, but also afterwards.
Yeah.
So let's start getting questions from the audience. So the any of you, here's a question right here.
Yeah.
It's coming to you.
So my name is Vipul Badoni with Autonetra. When we sent a man to the moon, there was three levels of redundancy in all the support systems, that was there in the LEM. We're protecting a human being and probably people around them too when you're doing autonomous driving. Are you going to have that level of redundancy, especially when I'm going 70 miles an hour down the road and there is something, which is an eighth of a mile ahead of me, that is maybe a tire or a piece of rubber that I would like to avoid?
I mean, we must be prepared for all sorts of situations that happen, and functional safety is something that we take very, very serious. And also new learning algorithms and the deep learning nets and graphical power in the vehicle is getting so much better that we will be able to see a lot more things than we were used to in the past year. So taking the latest technologies and the latest available sensors, calculation power and algorithms will help us detect various situations to brake if necessary for whatever is happening.
But what if one of the sensors breaks, or the sensor, let's say, for example, a LiDAR stops working?
I'll tell you what my experience is with my own current cars, because I have front-facing radars on my cars. If the radar breaks or if there's weather that keeps the sensor from working properly, the system tells you and turns off. I don't know how in a level 5 car that Mercedes will handle that, because that system hasn't yet been developed. But
even in a level 3, of course, the vehicle must be able to cope with situations that occur, and that's why we have redundancy in the systems. Not only on the sensor side, we will have different sensor types, because radar, LiDAR, camera, they all have their different pros and cons, so that we're always able to judge 2 out of 3 sensor information, and we have redundant calculation systems, so that the vehicle is able to bring the vehicle to a safe stop in case something unforeseen has happened.
I want to show another picture here so you can explain this car that we're about to see.
Oh, that's a nice one, right? That's the FO15, which was showed at the CES 2 years ago, and that gave an overview of what you can use your time for once autonomous driving has become true, right? Because in the car, you can do the things that you want to do. And often it's driving what you want to do, because driving is fun, but it's not always fun. And in those situations, of course, you can enjoy your time at your home in the living room, which is a very nice thing to do. And if you have good glasses, then...
Well, that's why my other passion, other than self-driving cars, is augmented reality, which is in South Hall here. This is the North Hall.
And
You haven't figured that out.
He just happened to have written a book about this, so
But
that's his co-author.
The thing
wait, let me
right.
finish promoting your book. My God. So it's very tacky when an author promotes his own book, but when another author promotes your book, it's fine. So I'll do the tacky part. This is Robert and Shell Israel's new book about augmented reality. And did you make it match that color on purpose?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You're sick.
I got shoes that the same color too.
Oh my God. You're scaring me, Robert.
But there is a point here. The
Really?
technology in this glass is very similar to the technology in a self-driving car. It has 3D sensors that map the world. It has artificial intelligence that does stuff on the world. And in fact, I believe Mercedes is going to announce a product in the next few years for driving. because we're all over the show. I'm seeing really thin, really small optics. And could you imagine if you could see the sensor ratings that are coming off the sensors and see the road ahead, maybe an infinite road ahead? I think Mercedes will be a leader in this space for a long time.
Thank you for that input.
Yeah, I just announced a new product for you guys.
Another question.
Inspirational talk as always. So, if you look in the electronics or the semiconductor industry, PCs, compute, mobile have been driving electronics. Given all the electronic composition that's going into all these ADAS cars, do you think that will be the next driver for the most advanced technology? Is architecture going to be spec based on automotive completely for future?
I have trouble in understanding.
I just was over at ZF, which is a supplier to the auto industry. They have a big booth next to NVIDIA over here. And they're innovating on all sorts of things that are going to go into cars in the future, from sensors to computers. They just did a deal with NVIDIA. This whole industry is investing a huge amount of money in what's coming, and a huge amount of technology. I mean, you go around Silicon Valley, you see every car company has a huge R&D lab there, and we're seeing magical things in the R&D labs that are coming. Mercedes gave me a look at some of the really bleeding edge stuff that's coming in the next few years, and they wouldn't even let me take video of it. It's so cool, right?
While integration into the vehicle always, of course, is another challenge. Things that you see here at the CES is consumer-oriented. Our systems have to work from minus degrees to 100 degrees Celsius, so it need to be durable for 15 years or so. So there is a process from things that you see for the first time from a consumer's point of view until it's automotive-like. But the cycles on how long it takes from first shows to a serious automotive industry is small. It's getting from years to not months, but.
So people will be replacing their cars as fast as the cell phone soon?
Well, maybe some of the pieces in the car. You're not going to replace the tire every year, right?
And also, cars will be shared.
That's right.
Right, so you can always jump in the latest car.
Yeah,
That's right.
but that's a little way. We're talking 2020 to 2025, somewhere in that range to get a level 5 car.
Well, I won't be driving in 20 years, so it better happen before that.
Self-driving car then.
Yeah, I need a self-driving car. I will say that I've been driving this E-Class for a few months, and after the first few weeks, you really become dependent on it. Like, for example, I wish I could set Distronic to be by default on. Like right now, I have to turn it on, right? I wish it was on all the time, because now I have it in my mind, oh, you don't need to brake. The car's going to brake for you. Well, that's not true. So I turn it on all the time. So maybe you can. Can I get a firmware upgrade so that Distronic is always on?
I'll take it with me.
Okay. So we didn't do this in any other session, but we're going to have to take a selfie. All right. So we're gonna stand this way, and you're going to all be in this like biggest selfie from CES. All right. So we're going to go this way.
Let me get in the middle here. All right.
So now everybody wave. Look happy, man. Oh, shoot. So stupid what I just did. All right. Okay.
All right.
So will you join me in thanking Mike and Robert?
Thank you.
And we'll be on the side. Don't forget his book. Thank you for joining us at Mercedes-Benz, and may an E or S class be in your future. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.